Welcome. I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Take a long, slow breath and let the weight of the day begin to lift away from your shoulders. This is a dedicated space for stillness, a quiet corner of the world where the only thing required of you is to listen and perhaps to drift. We are going to embark on a journey together, a gentle exploration into what we call the science of calm. It is a journey that moves through the vast expanse of the cosmos, down into the deep currents of the oceans, and eventually into the intricate, quiet pathways of your own body and mind. As we move through these stories and facts, you'll notice that our pace is slow. There is no rush here. There are no deadlines to meet, no problems to solve, and no expectations to fulfill. We are simply moving through a series of soft inquiries, looking at the world through a lens of wonder and peace. You might find that as the minutes pass, the rhythm of my voice becomes a steady, familiar anchor, helping you let go of the outside world. This rhythmic pacing is intentional, designed to mirror the natural resting states of the human heart and brain. It is interesting to consider that calmness is far more than just the absence of stress or the lack of noise. In the world of biology and neuroscience, calm is a very real, measurable state. It is a physiological shift that happens deep within your nervous system. When you decide to rest, your body doesn't just stop, it transitions. It begins a complex process of recalibration, changing the way your heart beats, the way your lungs expand, and even the way your brain processes information. Think of it like a ship moving from the choppy, unpredictable waters of the open ocean into a protected, glass-calm harbor. The ship is still the same, but its entire environment has changed, and so has the way it moves through the water. Your body is that ship. By choosing to be here, by choosing to listen to these gentle truths, you are giving your nervous system the signal it needs to enter that harbor. This shift is governed by a sophisticated network of nerves and chemicals, all working in harmony to ensure that you are safe, supported, and at peace. Over the next few hours, we will look at how these systems work, how the stars above us follow their own silent laws, and how the earth beneath us breathes in its own slow rhythm. For now, just know that you are entering a state of profound physical reality. Your calm is not an illusion. It is a beautifully documented biological event, as certain as the rising of the moon or the turning of the tides. As you listen, your body is already beginning to understand that it is time to let go. As we begin this journey, I invite you to take a moment to really settle in. Perhaps you need to adjust your pillows or pull the covers a little higher around your shoulders. There is no right or wrong way to be comfortable. There is only what feels best for you in this very moment. Let your weight sink into the mattress, feeling the steady, unwavering support beneath you. Notice the texture of the fabric against your skin and the gentle weight of the blanket. If there is any lingering tension in your neck, your jaw, or your shoulders, imagine it simply dissolving, like a cloud dispersing in a clear blue sky. You have nowhere else to be and nothing else to do but listen. If you find that these quiet truths and the rhythm of this space help you find the rest you need, you might consider subscribing to this channel or leaving a gentle like. It is a simple way to ensure you can find your way back here on another night when the world feels a bit too loud, and it helps this peaceful community grow one quiet breath at a time. Think of this as a sanctuary you can visit whenever the day has been long, a place where the only goal is your peace of mind. It is fascinating to realize that even as you listen, your body is responding to the sound of my voice in ways you might not consciously notice. Science tells us that the sound of a low-frequency, calm human voice can actually have a physical impact on the listener. It works as a natural regulator, often helping to lower the heart rate and stabilize the rhythm of your breathing. This isn't just a matter of preference or mood. It is a biological resonance. When we hear a steady, unhurried tone, our brains often interpret it as a profound signal of safety. In the ancient parts of our mind, a calm voice suggests an environment free of immediate threats, allowing the body to finally let down its guard and stop scanning for danger. The human ear is finely tuned to specific frequencies. Higher, sharper sounds often trigger a state of alertness, a remnant of our evolutionary past where a sudden noise might have meant a predator was near. But lower rhythmic frequencies, like the low hum of the tides or the steady melodic cadence of a peaceful story, act as a lullaby for the nervous system. They can create what researchers sometimes call a frequency-following response, where your own internal rhythms begin to sync up with the calm of the soundscape. You are quite literally tuning yourself to a frequency of rest. We often spend so much of our lives reacting to the external environment, the bright lights of screens, the sounds of traffic, the constant digital pings, and the myriad demands of the people around us. But for the next while, we are going to turn our gaze inward. We are moving away from the room you are in, away from the sounds of the street or the house, and into the silent, complex landscape of your internal world. Your body is a masterpiece of self-regulation, a living map of systems designed to bring you back to balance, even after the most stressful of days. Imagine your consciousness as a soft, warm light, slowly moving from the outside world into the center of your being. We are transitioning from the world of doing to the world of being. Inside you right now, a series of invisible switches are being flipped. The busyness of the day is being archived, and the restorative work of the night is beginning. We are about to explore the master controller of this process, the silent internal governor that decides when it is time to be active and when it is time to finally, truly rest. This governor is known to science as the autonomic nervous system, or the ANS. You might think of it as your body's internal thermostat, a quiet, tireless mechanism that hums along in the background, making thousands of tiny adjustments every single second without you ever having to consciously think about them. Just as a thermostat regulates the temperature of a home, cooling things down when they get too warm and warming them up when the air grows thin and cold, the ANS regulates your internal state. It is constantly shifting your energy, your blood flow, and your attention depending on what the world requires of you. At its core, relaxation is more than just the absence of work. It is a specific, measurable baseline of the human experience. It is the state your body returns to when it no longer feels the need to protect, to strive, or to solve. To understand how we reach this deep level of stillness, we have to look at the two main branches of this internal system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Imagine these two branches as a delicate balance, a seesaw that gently tilts back and forth throughout your day. The sympathetic branch is often called the fight or flight system. It is the gas pedal of the body. When you are startled, when you are rushing to meet a deadline, or even when you are excited, the sympathetic system takes the lead. It sharpens your focus, increases your heart rate, and readies your muscles for action. It is a vital system, a brilliant piece of biological engineering that has kept our species safe for millennia. But for us to heal, to grow, and to eventually sleep, the seesaw must tilt the other way. This is where the parasympathetic branch comes in. If the sympathetic system is the gas pedal, the parasympathetic system is the gentle, steady brake. It is the rest and digest system, the internal architect of peace. Deep restorative relaxation only truly occurs when the parasympathetic system takes the lead. It is a physiological shift that ripples through every cell in your body. When this system becomes dominant, it sends a quiet, pervasive message to every organ and every muscle. The work is done. You are safe. You can let go now. It is in this state that your body begins to repair itself. Your mind begins to sort through the day's impressions, and your heart finds a steady, slow rhythm that feels like a soft, reliable anchor. Think of this transition not as a sudden switch, but as a slow, graceful descent, like a leaf drifting down toward the surface of a still pond. The parasympathetic system begins its work. The noise of the day starts to fade into a distant, unimportant hum. You aren't just feeling relaxed. Your biology is physically shifting into a mode of preservation and renewal. This shift is the foundation of everything we are experiencing tonight. It is the baseline of calm from which all rest grows. But how exactly does the body decide to hand over the reins? How does the brain know that the room is quiet enough, the blankets are soft enough, and the moment is right to allow the parasympathetic system to take full control? The answer lies in a series of ancient signals, a biological language of safety that we are just beginning to speak together. This language of safety is what we call the rest and digest response. It is the body's way of acknowledging that the horizon is clear, the doors are locked, and the world is still. Think about the way your body feels when you are truly at home, perhaps tucked under a favorite quilt or sitting by a window on a rainy afternoon. In those moments, a subtle but profound shift occurs. Your brain, which is usually a vigilant sentry scanning for potential problems, tasks, or threats, finally stops its patrol. It steps down from the watchtower and sets its heavy equipment aside. This isn't just a mental choice. It is a physical surrender. When the rest and digest response takes over, the vigilance fades. You stop scanning the shadows of your thoughts. You stop bracing your muscles for a move you do not need to make. You are no longer preparing for a what if. You are simply existing in the what is. One of the most curious and gentle signs that this shift is happening is found in a place we rarely think about: your mouth. As the parasympathetic system activates and the rest and digest mode becomes dominant, your body actually increases the production of saliva. When we are stressed or anxious, our mouths often feel dry because the body is diverting its resources away from unnecessary functions like digestion, sending that energy instead to the heart and the limbs to prepare for action. But in this state of calm, the body redirects that energy back toward its internal maintenance. It prepares the digestive system to do its quiet, essential work. It is a small, quiet signal that the internal fires of stress have been dampened, replaced by the slow, steady glow of nourishment and recovery. Your body is telling you that it is safe to nourish yourself, to process what you have taken in, and to simply be. This system, this ability to move from a state of high alert into a deep restorative pool of calm, is not a modern luxury or a recent development of the human mind. It is a gift passed down through millions of years of life on Earth. The parasympathetic nervous system is incredibly ancient. It is a biological heritage shared by almost all vertebrate animals, from the smallest fish in the deep ocean to the birds in the morning sky and the mammals in the quiet forest. For as long as there has been life with a complex nervous system, there has been a fundamental need for this rhythm of rest. It is a universal language of survival. Every creature needs a time to be still, a time to let the world carry on without their intervention, so that their body can knit itself back together and prepare for the day to come. You are participating in a rhythm as old as life itself, a cycle of activity followed by the deep, necessary silence of the rest and digest state. As you lie here, this ancient system is communicating with your organs through a complex web of pathways. It isn't just a general feeling that spreads out. It is a series of precise electrical and chemical signals traveling along specific routes. To understand how these signals reach your heart, your lungs, and your stomach so effectively, we have to look at the primary physical cable that makes this connection possible. This single, long, and incredibly important structure acts as the main conduit for the messages of peace that are currently unfolding within you. It is the physical link between the quiet intention of your brain and the physical relaxation of your body. This physical link is known as the vagus nerve, and it is truly the body's superhighway of calm. If your nervous system were a vast and complex network of communication, the vagus nerve would be the main fiber optic cable, carrying the most important signals of peace and restoration from your brain down into the very core of your being. It is the 10th cranial nerve, and it is the longest and most intricate of its kind in the human body. The word vagus itself comes from the Latin word for wandering. It is a beautiful and fitting name because, unlike other nerves that might have a single direct destination, the vagus nerve takes a long, meandering path through your torso. It starts at the base of your brain, right at the brainstem, and travels down through the neck, branching out like the roots of an ancient willow tree to touch almost every major organ you possess. It weaves its way around your heart. It blankets the surface of your lungs, and it extends deep into your digestive tract, reaching all the way into your stomach and intestines. It is a physical bridge between the mind and the body's internal landscape. Because it is so deeply interconnected with your vital organs, The vagus nerve acts as a constant two-way feedback loop. While it does carry instructions from the brain to the body, a staggering 80% of its fibers are actually dedicated to sending information in the opposite direction, from your body back up to your brain. It is the primary way your brain monitors the state of your internal world. When you are stressed, the vagus nerve carries that tension upward. But when you are still, and when the vagus nerve is stimulated in just the right way, it sends an immediate and powerful all-clear signal to your mind. This signal is the biological equivalent of a deep sigh of relief. It tells the brain that the heart is beating steadily, the lungs are expanding fully, and the body is in a state of safety. In response, the brain lets go of its vigilance, quieting the areas responsible for worry and allowing a sense of profound, heavy relaxation to wash over you. It is as if the vagus nerve is a dial that, when turned, can lower the volume of the entire world. The most incredible part of this biological design is that you have a direct key to activate this superhighway. You do not need any special tools or complex thoughts to engage the vagus nerve and invite this all-clear signal into your system. You simply need to use the rhythm of your own body, a rhythm that you carry with you every moment of every day. This key is found in the way you move air in and out of your chest. By consciously changing the pace and the depth of your breathing, you are physically interacting with the vagus nerve, sending a message of peace that your brain is hardwired to believe. As you lie here, you can begin to feel how this connection works, moving from the concept of a nerve to the simple physical reality of a slow, deliberate breath. Consider for a moment the simple, quiet power of a single, deliberate breath. Most of the time, your body breathes for you, a rhythmic background process that continues while you work, while you speak, and while you dream. It is an automatic miracle. But breathing is also unique because it is one of the very few functions of your autonomic nervous system that you can consciously steer. It is a bridge between your conscious mind and the deep, hidden rhythms of your internal organs. When you choose to guide your breath, even for just a few moments, you are reaching out and touching the very controls of your nervous system. It is a subtle shift, like moving from a gusty, unpredictable wind to a steady, warm and reliable breeze. Let's try a very gentle pattern together, one that is designed to speak directly to that wandering vagus nerve we've been discussing. You don't need to change much, and there is no need to strain. Just a slight adjustment to the timing is all it takes. If you feel comfortable, try drawing in a soft, cool breath through your nose for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for just a heartbeat, feeling the fullness in your chest. And now, let it out even more slowly. A long, thin, effortless stream of air for a count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As you repeat this, inhaling for 4 and exhaling for 6, you might notice a subtle softening in your shoulders and a slight heaviness in your limbs. There is a profound scientific reason why that longer exhale feels so much more relaxing than the inhale. While the inhale is associated with a slight rise in energy and a very minor increase in heart rate, The exhale is the true domain of the vagus nerve. When you breathe out slowly, you are physically stimulating the nerve in a way that signals the brain to release a specific calming chemical. In the early 20th century, a scientist named Otto Loewi discovered this chemical through a famous experiment with a beating heart. He called it vagus stoff, or the vagus substance. Today, we know it as acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is the primary neurotransmitter of the parasympathetic nervous system, and it acts as a natural, gentle brake for your heart. When you prolong your exhale, the vagus nerve releases this substance directly onto the heart's natural pacemaker, the sinoatrial node. The acetylcholine whispers to the heart, telling it to slow down its pace and find a more relaxed tempo. It is a chemical message of absolute peace, a signal that there is no hurry, no emergency, and nowhere else in the world you need to be. It is as if you are bathing your internal system in a cooling mist that douses the embers of the day's stress. This process creates a beautiful rhythmic harmony between your lungs and your chest. With every long, slow exhale, you are engaging in a physical dialogue with your heart, asking it to join you in this state of stillness. You are moving away from the frantic, high-frequency pace of the waking world and entering the steady, reliable, and low-frequency rhythm of the night. As your breathing settles into this easy, unhurried flow, you might begin to feel the sensation of your heart mirroring this stillness. It is no longer a drum beating for a race, but a soft, rhythmic pulse that is beginning to sync with the deep, quiet atmosphere you have created. Your heart, much like your mind, is beginning to change its internal music, moving toward a state of profound coherence where every beat is a steady rhythmic step toward the deep ocean of rest. Your heart is a rhythmic drum, a soft and steady thrumming deep within the center of your chest. As you lie here, that drum is beginning to slow its tempo, shifting from the frantic beat of a busy day to the low resonant pulse of a quiet night. It is a beautiful thing to realize that your heart is not just a pump, but a sensitive listener. It listens to your breath, it listens to your thoughts, and it responds with a language of its own. In the world of science, we often look at something called heart rate variability, or HRVA. You might imagine that a perfectly healthy heart beats exactly like a metronome, with precisely the same amount of time between every single beat. But surprisingly, that isn't the case. A truly relaxed and resilient heart is one that is flexible. It has a high degree of variability. When you are stressed or anxious, your heart rate becomes very rigid, like a soldier marching to a strict, unchanging count. This lack of variation is a sign that the body is on high alert, ready for action. But as you settle into this space of calm, as your parasympathetic nervous system takes the lead, your heart begins to breathe with you. The intervals between your heartbeats become slightly longer as you exhale and slightly shorter as you inhale. This variation, this high HRV, is one of the most reliable signs of a healthy, relaxed nervous system. It indicates that your body is no longer braced for a challenge, but is instead fluid, adaptable, and deeply at rest. As you drift further into this stillness, your heart enters a state that scientists call coherence. Imagine a group of people singing in a choir, all finding the same note and the same breath at the exact same time. During deep relaxation, your heart's rhythm becomes smooth and orderly, forming a pattern that looks almost like a gentle, rolling wave on a calm sea. This coherence is a physical manifestation of peace. When your heart is coherent, it sends a powerful message back up through those same neural pathways we spoke of earlier, the vagus nerve, telling the rest of your body that all is well. The heart and the brain are in a constant, quiet conversation. When the heart beats with this slow, coherent rhythm, it effectively quiets the brain's alarm systems. It is a feedback loop of tranquility. The calm breath slows the heart, and the slow heart tells the brain it is safe to let go of the day's worries. This rhythmic harmony between your heart and your lungs acts like a bridge. It is a bridge that carries you away from the physical sensations of the body and begins to lead you toward the quiet landscapes of the mind. Just as the heart has found its slow, steady song, the brain is also beginning to change its tune. The electrical pulses within your head are shifting, moving away from the high-energy buzz of the day and toward a softer, more melodic frequency. As the chest becomes still and the heart beats with a gentle, certain rhythm, the focus shifts upward toward the vast and silent space of the mind. As the rhythm of your heart settles into its coherent, gentle wave, the landscape of your mind begins to shift its gears as well. It is a transition that happens quietly, almost imperceptibly, as you move from the external world of action to the internal world of peace. This change is governed by the very language of the brain, electricity. At any given moment, billions of neurons in your brain are communicating, sending tiny electrical pulses back and forth. When these neurons fire together in a rhythmic pattern, they create what we call brain waves. You can think of these waves as the atmospheric music of your mind, a background frequency that changes depending on whether you are solving a puzzle, dreaming, or simply resting. During your active hours, while you were navigating the complexities of the day, your brain was likely operating in a state dominated by beta waves. Beta waves are fast, jagged, and frequent, pulsing at a rate of about 12 to 30 cycles per second, or hertz. This is the frequency of focus, logic, and analytical thinking. In beta, your mind is like a spotlight, sharply focused on the tasks at hand, scanning for information and processing the world around you. It is a high-energy state, essential for survival and productivity, but it can be exhausting if maintained for too long. It is the sound of a mind that is on, busy with the work of living. But now, as you allow your body to become heavy and your breath to become slow, that high-frequency hum is beginning to soften. You are gently downshifting. As your eyes remain closed and your muscles release their hold, your brain begins to produce alpha waves. These waves are slower, smoother, and more rhythmic than beta waves, pulsing at a tranquil 8 to 12 hertz. This transition into the alpha state is the physiological signature of relaxation. It is often described as a state of quiet reflection. Imagine the difference between a choppy, windswept lake and the same lake at dawn, when the water is as smooth as glass. In alpha, the sharp edges of your thoughts begin to round off. The to-do lists and the echoes of conversations from earlier today start to lose their grip. You aren't necessarily trying to stop thinking. Rather, you are simply changing your relationship with those thoughts. The feeling of being in an alpha state is one of deep, effortless presence. It is that sweet, hazy middle ground where you are still aware of your surroundings. The weight of the blanket, the cool air on your skin, the rise and fall of your chest. But you no longer feel the need to react to them. You are drifting in a space of soft fascination where the mind is free to wander without a map. It is the bridge between the wakeful world and the deeper mysteries of sleep, a place where your brain can finally begin to let go of the day's heavy architecture and prepare for the restorative journey ahead. As you settle deeper into this alpha rhythm, the world of doing fades away, replaced by the simple, quiet beauty of just being. This alpha state is truly the bridge between the world of doing and the world of dreaming. It's a delicate, shimmering threshold where you aren't quite asleep, but the sharp edges of the day have softened into a blur. You might recognize this feeling as a sense of flow, that quiet, meditative space where time seems to lose its rigid structure. It is a moment of light meditation that occurs naturally, even without effort, as you simply allow yourself to be still. In this state, your mind is no longer a tool for navigation or a machine for solving problems. It becomes more like a quiet room, filled with soft light and the distant echo of a calm sea. Scientific studies using electroencephalograms, or EEGs, have shown that alpha waves are at their most prominent the very moment we close our eyes while remaining awake. The simple act of lowering your eyelids provides a massive reduction in the sensory data your brain has to process. The occipital lobe, the part of your brain located at the back of your head that is responsible for vision, stops its frantic work of decoding light, shape, and motion. This reduction in input allows the rhythmic, pulsing alpha waves to sweep across the cortex. It is as if a busy, bustling office has suddenly turned off the harsh overhead lights and the staff has gone home for the evening, leaving only the quiet, steady hum of the building itself. In this state of relaxed wakefulness, your mind is surprisingly powerful, though in a much different way than when you are focused on a task. This is the realm where creative problem-solving often happens more easily. When you are in the high-frequency beta state of the day, your focus is narrow and linear, like a spotlight on a single point. But in alpha, your thoughts become more lateral and expansive, like the glow of a lantern illuminating an entire room. Without the pressure of trying to find an answer, your brain begins to connect distant ideas and memories that it might have ignored during the day. You may have experienced this before, a sudden moment of clarity or a eureka insight that arrives just as you are drifting off. It is because the gatekeeper of your conscious mind has stepped aside, allowing the more intuitive and imaginative parts of your brain to speak in a gentle whisper. As you linger here on this bridge, feeling the gentle pull of the evening, your brain isn't just changing its electrical rhythm. It is also beginning to shift its chemical balance. To move from this light alpha state into the deeper, heavier stages of rest, the brain must begin to apply its own internal brakes. These are the chemical messengers that dampen the noise of the day and prepare your neurons for total stillness. Just beneath the surface of this calm, a specialized molecule is beginning to circulate, acting as a natural sedative to ensure your journey into rest is undisturbed and deep. Imagine your brain as a vast network of lights, each one representing a thought, a memory, or a sensory signal. Throughout the day, these lights are flashing rapidly, communicating at high speeds to help you navigate the world. But as you settle into this moment of stillness, your brain begins to release its most powerful tool for tranquility, a neurotransmitter called GABA. GABA is short for gamma-aminobutyric acid, and it serves as the brain's primary inhibitory chemical. Its sole purpose is to dampen the noise of the nervous system, acting as a natural sedative that gently pulls the plug on anxiety and overstimulation. While some chemicals in our brain act like accelerators, pushing us toward action and alertness, acts as the ultimate brake. It works by binding to specific sites on your neurons, effectively making them less likely to fire or send a signal. When GABA levels are high, the electrical activity in your brain slows down. It's as if a soft, heavy, velvet curtain is being drawn over a busy stage, muffling the sounds and dimming the lights until only a peaceful silence remains. This process is essential for rest. Without GABA, our minds would remain in a state of perpetual high alert, unable to disconnect from the demands of the day. It is the chemical foundation of what we perceive as letting go. Interestingly, many of the ancient remedies we use to find peace work in harmony with this exact system. Consider the simple act of sipping a warm cup of chamomile tea before bed. Science has found that chamomile contains a specific antioxidant called apigenin. This molecule travels to the brain and binds to the very same GABA receptors that your body uses to self-soothe. By doing so, it provides a gentle external boost to your internal braking system, helping to quiet the racing thoughts that sometimes linger at the edges of the mind. It is a beautiful example of how the natural world mirrors the intricate chemistry already at work within us, providing a bridge between the environment and our internal sense of safety. As GABA continues its quiet work, you might notice a subtle shift in the quality of your thoughts. The sharp edges of your worries begin to soften, and the internal dialogue that usually demands your attention starts to feel more like a distant, unintelligible murmur. You aren't just trying to be calm. Your brain is physically reorganizing itself to ensure that calm is the only state available to you. This chemical quietude creates the perfect environment for another vital messenger to take the stage. A hormone that doesn't just stop the noise, but replaces it with a deep, pervasive sense of well-being. This is serotonin, the chemical of contentment, and its role in your relaxation is as profound as it is ancient. While GABA provides the silence, serotonin provides the comfort that makes that silence feel like home. Serotonin is often called the happy chemical, but in the quiet hours of the evening, it is perhaps better described as the chemical of contentment. It is the soft internal yes that tells your brain you have enough, you are enough, and you are safe exactly where you are. While Sabah was the hand that turned down the volume of the world, serotonin is the warmth that fills the room once the noise has faded. It doesn't just silence the alarms, it replaces them with a profound sense of well-being, a feeling that the day's work is done and there is nothing left for you to solve or fix. This chemical allows you to settle into the present moment without the nagging urge to be somewhere else or to be doing something more. What many people find surprising is that this messenger of peace doesn't just live in the brain. In fact, about 95% of your body's serotonin is produced in the gut. There is a constant, quiet conversation happening between your digestive system and your mind. A physical connection often called the gut-brain axis. When your body is at rest and your internal systems feel nourished and calm, this vast reservoir of serotonin sends a signal of security upward, anchoring your mood and allowing your mind to drift away from the stresses of the external world. It is a reminder that relaxation is a whole-body experience, starting deep within your core and radiating outward to every limb. It is why a settled stomach often leads to a settled mind. As the evening deepens, serotonin performs one more vital task, acting as a master architect for the sleep to come. It serves as the essential precursor to melatonin, the hormone that officially invites sleep into the body. Think of serotonin as the golden light of late afternoon, which, as the sun dips below the horizon, naturally fades and transforms into the deep indigo of the night. Your brain takes the contentment you feel now and chemically recalibrates it, turning it into the signal that tells every cell in your body it is time to transition from resting to dreaming. Without this steady supply of serotonin, the path to deep sleep would be much harder to find. It is the bridge between the peaceful evening and the restorative night. With these chemicals flowing through you, a new sensation begins to take hold, a gentle, heavy surrender. You might notice that the contentment in your mind is starting to mirror itself in the weight of your limbs. As the brain signals that the environment is safe and the internal chemistry is balanced, the physical structures of your body finally receive the permission they have been waiting for. The tight coils of energy held within your muscles begin to unwind, one by one. The transition from mental peace to physical release is seamless, like a ripple moving across a still pond. You are moving now from the chemistry of the mind to the physical reality of the body, letting go of the last remnants of the day's effort and allowing your physical form to become as still as your thoughts. As your mind settles, your body begins to follow, moving into a state of deep physical surrender. This is the great unclenching. Throughout the day, we often carry the weight of our responsibilities in our physical frames, holding on to tension as if it were a shield. But now, in this space of stillness, that shield is no longer necessary. You can feel the permission to let go radiating through your limbs, a soft command from your nervous system that the time for action has passed. It is a gradual, rhythmic unwinding, like the slowing of a pendulum or the fading of an echo. Take a moment to notice the small hidden places where you might still be holding on. We often carry a tremendous amount of quiet effort in our faces. Think of your jaw, one of the strongest muscle groups in the human body. Often without us even realizing it, we hold our teeth together or press our tongues against the roofs of our mouths. Let your jaw go slack. Feel the weight of it as it drops slightly, creating a small, peaceful space between your teeth. Move your awareness upward to the tiny muscles around your eyes and across your brow, the place where we knit our forehead in concentration or worry. Imagine a warm, gentle hand smoothing those lines away, leaving your forehead as calm and clear as the surface of a mountain lake at dawn. When you consciously release this tension, you are participating in a process known as progressive muscle relaxation. It is a powerful tool for recalibrating your internal chemistry. Scientific studies have shown that the act of systematically relaxing your muscles can significantly lower the levels of cortisol, the primary stress hormone circulating in your blood. By softening your physical form, you are sending a clear, undeniable, all clear signal back to your brain. You're telling your endocrine system that the environment is secure and that there is no longer a need for the high alert chemicals that fueled your day. As these muscles relax and become heavy, they undergo a fascinating metabolic shift. Tense, active muscles are hungry. They require a constant supply of oxygen and glucose to maintain their contraction. But as you let go, your muscles enter a state of quietude. They no longer demand that high level of fuel. Because of this, you may notice that your breathing is naturally becoming shallower and more effortless. Your body doesn't need to work as hard to pull in oxygen, so the diaphragm moves with a smaller, more rhythmic grace. This is the body's way of entering a low power mode, a state of maximum efficiency where every system is allowed to idle. Your heart rate continues to dip, no longer needing to pump blood quite so vigorously to active limbs. You are becoming a vessel of stillness. So, this reduction in physical effort and metabolic activity marks the beginning of another important transition. As the internal engine of your body slows down, the heat generated by your muscles begins to dissipate. The intense energy of the day is cooling, making way for the gentle restorative chill that precedes the deepest stages of rest. You can feel this coolness beginning to settle over you, a quiet invitation to drift even further into the landscape of the night. This cooling is more than just a feeling of comfort. It is a biological requirement for the profound relaxation you are seeking. Your body operates on a rhythmic clock, and one of the most significant signals that it is time to transition from the waking world into the world of dreams is a gentle, steady drop in your core body temperature. For your brain to initiate the complex chemistry of deep sleep, your internal temperature must fall by about 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. It is as if your system is dimming its own lights, lowering its energy output to allow for the quiet work of restoration to begin. You may have noticed that on warm, humid nights, it feels much harder to find that sense of peace. This is because your body is struggling to shed its internal heat, keeping you in a state of restless alertness. Conversely, a cool room acts as a biological green light. When the air around you is crisp, it assists your body in this natural cooling process, making it much easier for your nervous system to slide into a state of deep calm. This is why the touch of a cool pillow or the feel of a soft breeze can be so instantly soothing. They are physical allies in your body's quest for stillness. To achieve this drop in core temperature, your body performs a clever piece of biological engineering. It begins to move heat away from your vital organs and toward your extremities. The small blood vessels in your hands and your feet begin to widen, a process that allows more blood to flow near the surface of your skin. These areas act like tiny radiators, releasing the day's gathered warmth out into the air around you. This is why, as you prepare for rest, your hands and feet might actually feel a bit warmer to the touch, even as your inner self feels cooler and more settled. It is a beautiful, rhythmic exchange, the center of your being becoming quiet and cool, while the edges of your body gently radiate the last of the day's fire. As this physical cooling continues, you are moving further away from the sharp, bright demands of the day. Your internal environment is now stable, quiet, and prepared. With the body so deeply anchored in this cool stillness, the mind begins to follow suit. It no longer feels the need to scan for information, analyze data, or solve the complex problems of your waking life. Instead, it begins to drift toward a different kind of awareness, a state where thoughts become lighter, more fluid, and less demanding. You are entering a space of soft fascination. In this state, the world is no longer something to be managed or controlled, but something to be gently observed. It is the mental equivalent of watching the slow, effortless movement of clouds across a twilight sky, or listening to the rhythmic, distant pulse of waves on a shore. This shift in your attention is not a loss of focus, but a change in its quality, a transition from a sharp, tiring light to a soft, restorative glow that allows your mind to finally rest and recover. Have you ever wondered why the sound of a distant thunderstorm or the rhythmic patter of rain against a window pane feels so incredibly healing? There is a profound reason why these natural sounds, and even the gentle, low-stakes facts we are exploring together tonight, have such a powerful effect on your ability to let go. It is not just a preference. It is a deep-seated biological necessity that resides in the very structure of your brain. Psychologists call this concept attention restoration theory. It suggests that our minds have two very different ways of paying attention to the world around us. Throughout your busy day, you rely heavily on what is known as directed attention. This is a focused, high-energy state that requires significant mental effort. It is the tool you use when you are navigating traffic, reading complex documents, or managing the many small problems that arise in a modern life. Directed attention is a finite resource. It is like a battery that slowly but surely drains as the hours pass. By the time evening arrives, that battery is often completely depleted, leaving you feeling mentally fatigued, overwhelmed, and perhaps even a bit restless. But there is another way to engage with the world, a state that feels like a cooling balm for a tired mind. This is called soft fascination. Soft fascination occurs when you are drawn to something that is naturally interesting but does not require any active effort to process. It is the effortless pull you feel when you watch the slow shifting shapes of clouds as they drift across a twilight sky, or the way you can lose yourself in the flickering, golden dance of a campfire for long stretches of time. These patterns are complex and beautiful enough to hold your gaze, yet they never ask you to make a decision, solve a riddle, or take action. They are soft because they do not grab your attention aggressively. They simply invite it to linger. When you listen to these quiet facts or the gentle, unhurried cadence of a calm voice, you are entering this restorative state. Because the information is interesting but not urgent, your directed attention centers can finally go offline. This part of your brain, which has been working so hard to filter out noise and focus on tasks all day, is finally allowed to step back and rest. It is a moment of profound mental silence, a clearing in the woods of your thoughts where the constant pressure to do simply evaporates. This shift from hard focus to soft fascination acts as a vital signal to your entire physiology. It tells your brain that the period of high-stakes alertness is officially over. As your mind stops straining to grasp at the world, a chemical change begins to ripple through your body. The mental rest you are experiencing right now is the necessary bridge to the physical retreat of the hormones that have kept you on guard since you woke up. By allowing your attention to soften and drift, you are giving your nervous system the permission it needs to lower its defenses and begin the deep, quiet work of clearing away the day's lingering stress. As your mind begins to drift in this state of soft fascination, a physical shift is occurring deep within your endocrine system. This is the quiet retreat of cortisol. You can imagine it as a tide that has been high all day, slowly and steadily pulling back from the shore, leaving behind a smooth, undisturbed expanse of sand. Cortisol is often labeled as the stress hormone, but it is more accurately described as the hormone of alertness and engagement. It is the chemical that sharpens your focus, increases your blood sugar for energy, and helps you respond to the demands of your environment. It is a vital part of being alive and active, providing the spark that helps you meet the day with purpose. However, for the body to heal and the mind to rest, this alertness must eventually give way. In a natural, healthy rhythm, your cortisol levels follow a very specific curve known as the diurnal cycle. This cycle is synchronized with the light of the sun and the internal clock of your brain. Every morning, shortly after you open your eyes, your body releases a surge of cortisol, a waking response, to help you transition from the world of dreams to the world of action. This is your peak of energy. But as the day progresses, that level is designed to fall in a long, shimmering decline. By the time the evening air turns cool and the lights grow dim, your cortisol levels should be reaching their lowest point, bottoming out around midnight to allow for the deepest possible restoration of your cells and your spirit. This delicate balance is managed by your adrenal glands, small, powerful organs that sit quietly atop your kidneys. In our modern world, these glands are often called upon too frequently, prompted by the ping of a phone or the pressure of a deadline to keep cortisol circulating long after the sun is set. But right now, in this space of stillness, you are performing a vital service for these glands. By choosing to listen to these soft truths and breathing in a slow, steady rhythm, you are signaling to your adrenal system that the all clear has been sounded. You are providing the calm necessary to help reset these internal rhythms. As you relax, the adrenal glands can finally cease their production, allowing the lingering cortisol to be filtered out and replaced by the chemistry of peace. As this hormonal tide recedes, the effects are felt most profoundly in the forwardmost part of your brain. The physical pressure of being on begins to dissipate, particularly in the region just behind your forehead. This is the prefrontal cortex, the sophisticated CEO of your mind. For many hours, this area has been working tirelessly to organize your thoughts, filter out distractions, and solve the puzzles of your day. It is the seat of your logic and your willpower. But as the cortisol fades, this busy center begins to realize that its work for the day is complete. It is preparing to step down from its post, allowing the more intuitive, wandering parts of your mind to take over the journey as you move closer to the edge of sleep. Think of this part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, as a dedicated night shift manager, finally clocking out after a long and demanding cycle. All day, it has been the captain of your ship, steering you through conversations, decisions, and the endless stream of information that defines a modern life. It is a highly evolved region, the part of the brain that makes us uniquely human, capable of complex reasoning and long-term planning. But this constant vigilance requires an immense amount of energy. When you are wide awake and focused, this CEO of your mind is firing rapidly, keeping your attention sharp and your logic intact. It is a tireless worker, but even the most efficient leader needs to rest. As you settle deeper into your blankets, the metabolic activity in this area begins to soften and dim. The sharp edges of your thoughts start to round off, becoming smoother and less urgent. This is the part of the brain responsible for what scientists call executive function. It's the part that keeps track of the time, the part that reminds you of what you need to do tomorrow, and the part that occasionally keeps you awake by replaying a conversation or a choice from the past. Because the prefrontal cortex is the seat of logical thinking, it is also, by extension, the seat of our worries about the future. It is always trying to solve a problem, even when there are no problems left to solve for the day. But as you breathe out, you can almost feel the tension leaving this space behind your brow. You are giving the CEO permission to step down from its post. You are signaling that the office is closed. When the prefrontal cortex quiets down, something fascinating happens within the architecture of your mind. Your brain doesn't simply turn off. Instead, it switches its operational mode to something much more fluid. A different system, known as the default mode network, begins to shimmer into life. You can think of the default mode network as the brain's inner sanctuary, a series of interconnected regions that become most active when we are not focused on a specific task or the outside world. This is the network responsible for daydreaming, for self-reflection, and for the soft, non-linear wandering of the mind that happens just before sleep. In this state, your thoughts are no longer bound by the rigid rules of logic or the pressure of getting things right. They might drift from the memory of a warm summer afternoon to the abstract texture of a cloud, or the way the light looks when it reflects off a calm body of water. This transition is a vital part of the science of calm. By stepping away from the doing mode of the prefrontal cortex and entering the being mode of the default mode network, you're allowing your brain to process the day's events without the weight of judgment. It is a gentle untethering from the world of facts and figures as this inner landscape becomes more expansive and less structured. The electrical activity of your brain continues its slow downward slide. The steady rhythmic alpha waves that have been keeping you in a state of quiet reflection are now beginning to stretch out even further. You are standing on the threshold of a different kind of consciousness, where the boundaries between your thoughts and your dreams begin to feel less distinct. The busy signals of the day are being replaced by a low, comforting hum, a sign that you are moving away from the bright clarity of the afternoon and toward the soft velvet shadows of the evening's deepest rhythms. You're now ready to leave the shore of logic behind and drift into the deeper, more mysterious waters of the mind. As you drift further away from the shore of logic, the electrical rhythm of your brain undergoes another subtle, profound shift. The alpha waves, which provided that calm, reflective bridge throughout the earlier parts of your evening, are now beginning to slow even further. They are stretching out, becoming longer and deeper, transitioning into what scientists call theta waves. This is a significant milestone in the journey toward rest. While alpha waves represented a quieted mind, theta waves represent a mind that is beginning to let go of the world entirely. These waves oscillate at a frequency of about 4 to 8 cycles per second, or hertz. If alpha was a gentle, rhythmic stroll, theta is a slow, effortless drift on a deep, calm current. This is often referred to as the twilight state of the human mind. It is the delicate borderland between being awake and being asleep, a place where the rigid structures of the day start to dissolve into something more fluid, more surreal, and deeply peaceful. In this state, the internal monologue that usually narrates your life begins to quiet, replaced by a more visual, more abstract way of thinking. In this theta-dominated state, your sense of time and space begins to soften and lose its sharp edges. You might find that your thoughts no longer follow a straight line or a logical progression. One moment, you might be thinking about the cool touch of a pebble, and the next, that thought has transformed into the sensation of floating through a forest of tall, silent trees. This happens because the analytical parts of your brain, the parts that usually check for realism and consistency, have stepped into the background. You're entering a realm of pure association, where the mind is free to play with images and sensations without the pressure of making sense. This is the specific stage of relaxation where many people experience what is known as hypnagogic imagery. These are fleeting, vivid flashes that appear behind your closed eyelids. You might see a sudden, detailed face of a stranger, a complex, geometric pattern that shifts and turns, or a burst of vibrant color that seems to pulse in time with your breath. These aren't quite dreams yet, as you are still technically aware of your surroundings, but they are the first echoes of the dream world reaching out to meet you. It is a sign that your brain is becoming more plastic and more receptive, shifting its focus from the external environment to the vast internal landscape of the subconscious. Interestingly, theta waves are also the hallmark of very deep meditation. Experienced practitioners can often dwell in this twilight space for long periods, balancing on the very edge of consciousness while remaining perfectly still. But for you, in this moment, these waves are simply a vehicle. They are a sign that the heavy lifting of the day is truly over and that you are descending step by step into the deeper layers of your own biology. The twilight is not a place to work. It is a place to simply be. As the logic of the world continues to blur and these strange, beautiful images flicker in the quiet of your mind, take a moment to recenter yourself in the physical reality of your comfort. Feel the weight of your head as it is cradled by the pillow. Notice the way the blankets rest across your body, providing a soft, consistent boundary between you and the cool air of the room. You are safe in this twilight. You are perfectly supported by the surface beneath you. There is nothing you need to catch, nothing you need to hold on to, and no problem that requires a solution. Your only task is to listen to the rhythm of these lengthening waves and allow yourself to be carried further into the stillness. Let's take a moment now to simply recenter. If your mind has begun to wander into those strange, flickering images of the twilight state, that's perfectly fine. But for just a second, bring your awareness back to the physical space you occupy. Feel the mattress beneath you, supporting every inch of your frame. Notice the way your body has become a bit heavier, sinking just a little deeper into the softness. You're safe here. In this space, there are no expectations and no deadlines. Your only job, the only thing required of you right now, is to simply exist, to breathe, to feel, and to let go. You are exactly where you need to be, and everything else can wait until tomorrow. You might notice the specific sensation of your blankets or a duvet resting against your skin. There is a fascinating reason why many of us find the weight of a heavy blanket so incredibly soothing. It is a biological response known as deep pressure touch. Our skin is home to millions of tiny receptors that respond to gentle, firm pressure, much like the feeling of a warm hug or being swaddled as an infant. When these receptors are stimulated by the weight of your bedding, they send a very specific signal to your nervous system. It is a signal of safety and containment, letting your brain know that you are in a secure environment. This signal tells the brain to shift its chemistry in a very beneficial way. This gentle pressure actually encourages the release of even more serotonin, that wonderful neurotransmitter that promotes a sense of well-being and contentment. At the same time, it helps to lower the levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, even further. It's as if the physical weight of the blanket is grounding your nervous system, acting as a soft anchor that prevents your mind from drifting back into the worries of the day. It is a physical, all-clear signal, telling your body that it is protected and tucked away from the world. As you feel that weight now, imagine it as a shield of calm, pressing gently against you and inviting you to settle even deeper into your rest. As you settle into this grounded, heavy feeling, your brain is continuing its quiet work behind the scenes, While the skin and muscles are sending signals of safety from the outset, deep within the center of your brain, a tiny, remarkable structure is responding to the environment in its own way. This is the pineal gland. Historically, some have referred to it as the third eye because of its unique relationship with light and darkness. It is a small, pine cone-shaped gland no larger than a grain of rice, yet it carries a monumental responsibility for your sleep-wake cycle. It sits quietly in the shadows of the brain, waiting for the signal that the sun has set and the world has grown dim. As your eyes remain closed and the room around you stays dark, this small gland begins its nightly ritual. It is a master of timing, a biological clock that understands the rhythm of the universe. Even now, in the stillness, it is preparing to release the final chemical key that will unlock the door to deep, restorative sleep. It is the bridge between the world outside and the world of your dreams, reacting to the absence of light by signaling to every cell in your body that the time for activity has passed. It is the conductor of your internal orchestra, slowly lowering the tempo until the music is nothing more than a soft, steady hum. The pineal gland is often referred to as the third eye of our sleep biology, a title that sounds mystical but is rooted in a very tangible physical reality. Tucked deep within the brain center where the two halves meet, this tiny pea-sized gland is remarkably sensitive to the light that enters your eyes. Even when your eyelids are closed, your brain is processing the absence of light, and it is this very darkness that serves as the master key for the pineal gland's nightly work. Throughout the day, while you move through the bright world, this gland remains quiet, almost dormant, waiting for the shadows to lengthen and the environment to dim. As the light fades, the pineal gland receives a signal from a specialized group of cells in your eyes. It understands that the day is over. In response, it begins to synthesize and release a hormone called melatonin. You can think of melatonin as the body's internal vampire hormone, not because it is harmful, but because it only comes out in the dark. It doesn't necessarily put you to sleep on its own. Rather, it acts as a biological messenger, traveling through your bloodstream to every organ and every cell, whispering that the window of rest has opened. It is the chemical equivalent of the sun setting, a quiet announcement to your entire system that it is time to transition from the energy of the day to the restoration of the night. In our modern world, this ancient process can sometimes be interrupted by the glow of our devices. The blue light emitted by phones, tablets, and computers is of a specific wavelength that mimics the brightness of the midday sun. When this light hits our eyes late at night, it can trick the pineal gland into thinking the day is still in full swing. It pauses the release of melatonin, keeping the body in a state of confused alertness. This is why the soft, warm dimness of your current environment is so vital. By resting here in the dark, you are allowing that tiny gland to do exactly what it was designed to do millions of years ago. You are letting the melatonin rise like a gentle tide, filling your system with the signal that it is safe to let go. But while the pineal gland manages the timing of your sleep based on the light outside, there is another process happening simultaneously, one that has been building up since the very moment you woke up this morning. If melatonin is the clock that tells you when it is night, there is another chemical that acts as the timer, measuring exactly how long you have been active. This chemical is known as adenosine. While melatonin responds to the world around you, adenosine responds to the work your brain has done throughout the day. It is the physical manifestation of what scientists call sleep pressure, a heavy, inevitable weight that grows with every hour of wakefulness. As you lie there, feeling the quiet influence of the pineal gland's melatonin, you can also begin to feel the presence of this accumulated adenosine. It is a soft, persistent pull, a reminder from your own cells that they have worked hard and are now ready for a period of deep maintenance. It is the bridge between the light-sensitive rhythms of your brain and the physical needs of your tired body. As we continue, we will look closer at how this simple molecule, adenosine, creates the irresistible urge to drift away, and how it prepares your mind to finally cross the threshold into the world of dreams. Imagine, if you will, a tiny hourglass inside your mind. From the very second you opened your eyes this morning, the sand began to fall. This sand is a molecule called adenosine. It is the quiet, invisible currency of your wakefulness. Every thought you've had today, every movement of your hands, and every breath you've taken has required energy. And as your brain burns through its fuel to power those actions, it leaves behind adenosine as a byproduct. It is a beautiful, natural process, a way for your body to keep an honest, physical tally of how long you have been interacting with the world. As your day progresses, the concentration of adenosine in your brain steadily rises. It flows through the microscopic spaces between your neurons, searching for specific docking stations called receptors. You can think of these receptors as tiny, waiting cradles. When an adenosine molecule finds an empty cradle and nestles into it, a signal is sent throughout your nervous system. It is a soft chemical whisper that says, it is time to slow down. The more cradles that are filled, the stronger that whisper becomes, until it grows into a deep, resonant hum of sleepiness. This is what scientists call sleep pressure. It is that heavy, comfortable weight you might feel in your limbs and the gentle pressure behind your eyes right now. It is the physical proof that you have lived a full day and that your body is ready to begin its nightly restoration. We often try to negotiate with this biological timer in our daily lives. Many of us use caffeine to stay alert, and the way it interacts with this system is quite fascinating. Caffeine molecules are shaped almost exactly like adenosine molecules. They are clever imposters. They drift into those same tiny cradles and sit there, blocking the real adenosine from docking. However, caffeine doesn't actually provide new energy. It simply masks the signal of tiredness. It's like putting a piece of tape over a low battery light on a dashboard. The adenosine doesn't disappear. It continues to build up outside the receptors, waiting patiently for the caffeine to eventually leave. This is why, when the effect of a cup of coffee finally wears off, the crash can feel so sudden and heavy. All that built-up sleep pressure finally rushes into the receptors all at once. But here, in the stillness of this moment, there are no imposters. You have allowed the distractions of the day to fade, and you are letting the adenosine do its vital work. You are allowing those molecules to click into place one by one, signaling to your brain that the day's work is complete. The pressure is high, the tide is in, and the threshold of sleep is very close. Your body is chemically prepared to drift away, yet, even when the chemistry is perfect, the mind can sometimes remain a little too active. Even as the adenosine pulls at your eyelids, your thoughts might still be trying to march in a straight line, revisiting the events of the day or planning for the morning. To truly cross over into rest, we sometimes need to help the mind let go of its logic. We need to shift from the linear, structured thinking of the day to something more fluid, soft, and disorganized. This brings us to a gentle mental technique that works in harmony with your body's chemistry, a process known as cognitive shuffling. Have you ever noticed that just as you're beginning to drift away, your thoughts start to become a bit strange? You might find yourself thinking about a vintage bicycle, then suddenly a loaf of warm bread, then perhaps the texture of a seashell. These thoughts don't have a logical connection. They are like snapshots from different books, shuffled together in a gentle, random deck. This is not a mistake of the mind. It is actually a very sophisticated biological signal. In our waking hours, our brains are obsessed with logic, sequence, and consequence. We think in straight lines. If I do this, then that will happen. This linear thinking is what allows us to navigate the busy world, but it is also what keeps us awake. When we are alert, the brain stays in this sense-making mode, scanning for patterns and problems to solve. But sleep is the opposite of sense-making. To the brain, the transition into sleep is marked by a shift from order to chaos, a gentle, harmless, and very quiet kind of chaos. Researchers have found that by intentionally scrambling our thoughts, we can actually signal to the brain that it is time to shut down for the night. This is a process often called cognitive shuffling. When you provide your mind with a series of random, non-threatening images, like a fluffy cloud, then a wooden spoon, then a velvet curtain, you are essentially telling your brain's threat detection system that there is nothing important to focus on. There is no problem to solve, no lion in the grass, and no task to complete. The brain sees this lack of a logical pattern and interprets it as a sign of safety. It realizes that the analytical part of the mind has stepped away from the controls, and it is safe for the subconscious to take over. This is precisely why the age-old advice of counting sheep has persisted for so many generations. It isn't the sheep themselves that matter, it's the repetitive, low-stakes nature of the task. It occupies just enough of your conscious mind to stop it from wandering back to the worries or loops of the day. But it is far too simple to keep you alert. Listening to gentle, rhythmic facts works in much the same way. Each piece of information is a small, soft leaf falling onto the surface of a still pond. You acknowledge its shape. You let it float for a moment, and then you let it sink, making room for the next one. This prevents the mind from getting caught in the analytical grip, that state where we try to solve tomorrow's problems with tonight's tired mind. By focusing on these scattered, gentle fragments, you are mirroring the brain's own natural descent into the dream state. You are creating a mental environment where it is perfectly okay for things not to make sense. You are giving yourself permission to stop being the manager of your thoughts. And as your internal narrative begins to soften and become more fragmented, something remarkable begins to happen physically within the structure of your brain. While your conscious mind is busy drifting through these random images, the physical brain is preparing for its most important shift of the 24-hour cycle. It is moving from the action phase into the maintenance phase. Just as a busy city waits for the heavy traffic to clear before the street sweepers and maintenance crews come out to refresh the avenues, your brain waits for this moment of cognitive stillness to begin its own deep internal cleaning. Deep within the folds of your cortex, a specialized and silent system is beginning to stir, ready to wash away the remnants of the day's activity. This is the beginning of a nightly miracle, the work of the glymphatic system. Imagine your brain as a quiet coastal town after a long, bustling summer day. While the sun was up, the streets were crowded, the shops were busy, and the air was filled with the hum of constant activity. But now, as the evening settles and the streets grow still, a different kind of work begins. This is the nightly wash of the brain, a process as essential as breathing, yet one that can only truly reach its full potential when you are in this state of deep, unhurried relaxation. For a long time, science was puzzled by how the brain, which is so incredibly active and energy-intensive, managed to stay clean. Most of the body uses the lymphatic system to drain away cellular waste, but the brain is tucked away behind a protective barrier that the lymphatic system cannot cross. It wasn't until recently that researchers discovered the glymphatic system, the brain's own dedicated, hidden plumbing network. It is a silent, rhythmic tide of fluid that waits for the moment you let go of the day's thoughts to begin its most vital work. When you are alert and focused, your brain cells are packed tightly together, buzzing with electrical signals. They are like workers in a crowded office, leaving behind tiny fragments of metabolic waste, the chemical byproducts of all that thinking, deciding, and feeling. One of these byproducts is a protein called beta amyloid. If these fragments are left to pile up, they can cloud your thinking and make the mind feel heavy or sluggish. But as you sink deeper into your pillows and your heart rate finds its steady, slow rhythm, a remarkable physical transformation occurs within your skull. In this state of profound rest, your brain cells actually begin to shrink. It is as if they are tucking themselves in, pulling back to create more room. Scientific studies have revealed that the space between these cells, known as the interstitial space, increases by as much as 60% during periods of deep relaxation and sleep. This expansion is the key to the entire process. It opens up wide, clear channels, turning narrow alleys into broad avenues, and allowing the cerebrospinal fluid to surge through with ease. This clear, life-giving fluid acts like a gentle mountain stream, rinsing through the deepest crevices of your mind. It picks up the metabolic debris, the chemical exhaust of your busy day, and carries it away to be filtered out by the body. This is why relaxation is far from a passive state. It is the most important maintenance period of your life. Your brain is essentially refreshing its own canvas, washing away the clutter of the past 16 hours to ensure that your internal landscape remains healthy and vibrant. This internal cleansing is the biological reason why a period of deep, calm stillness brings such a profound sense of mental clarity. You can almost feel that clarity starting to settle in now. A lightness in the forehead, a softening behind the eyes, as if a heavy mist is slowly being lifted. As the brain continues this quiet, rhythmic sweep, the rest of your body follows its lead. The energy that was once directed toward the outside world is now being pulled inward, redirected toward the core, as your other vital systems begin to shift their rhythm and prepare for their own version of nightly restoration. As the quiet tide in your brain continues its rhythmic sweep, a similar hush begins to settle over the rest of your physical self. You might feel a gentle softening in your abdomen, a release of the tightness we often carry in our midsection without even realizing it. It is a quiet, spreading warmth that signals to your internal organs that the day's work is done. This internal shift is just as vital as the mental one. As your body moves its focus from the outside world to the intricate landscape of your own biology, deep within, the busy machinery of your digestive system is shifting its gears. Throughout the day, your gut is a hub of constant activity, moving with a series of wave-like muscle contractions known as peristalsis. This process is what moves food and nutrients through your system, a rhythmic pulsing that requires a significant amount of your body's daily energy and blood flow. It is a demanding task, one that often takes priority during our waking hours. But as you enter this state of deep restorative calm, peristalsis slows down significantly. It is as if the internal conveyor belts of your body are being set to their lowest, most peaceful speed, allowing the entire digestive tract to find a rare moment of stillness. This slowing is not a sign of inefficiency, but a masterstroke of biological wisdom. By quieting the demands of the gut, your body is able to reclaim a vast reservoir of energy that was previously tied up in the labor of digestion. This energy is then redirected, flowing away from the external tasks of the world and toward the vital, quiet work of cellular repair. Scientists call this the transition from a catabolic state, one that spends and breaks down energy, to an anabolic state, one that restores and builds it. Think of this as your body's nightly renovation. This is the time of anabolism, the phase of cellular reconstruction where your body acts as its own master architect. While you lie here perfectly still, your system is busy synthesizing the proteins and molecules needed to heal micro tears in your muscles, repair the lining of your blood vessels, and rejuvenate your skin. It is a time of profound internal construction, a silent symphony of growth and healing that can only happen when the rest of the world is tuned out and the body is allowed to rest. In this quiet environment, your body isn't just repairing its physical structure. It is also tending to its most sophisticated internal defenses. With the heavy lifting of digestion and movement set aside, your energy can now be fully invested in the subtle, vital work of your immune system. As you continue to breathe softly and sink further into your bed, your body is quietly turning its focus toward the production of the cells that keep you safe and healthy. You're moving now from a state of repair into a state of fortification, where calmness itself becomes a powerful shield for your well-being. This shield of calmness is more than a metaphor. It is a tangible, biological reality. When you allow your body to settle into this deep state of relaxation, you are effectively handing the keys over to your immune system, giving it the resources it needs to maintain your health. During the day, when we are busy or stressed, the body often prioritizes immediate action over long-term maintenance. High levels of stress hormones like cortisol can actually suppress our natural defenses, putting our internal protection on a temporary standby. But now, in the soft stillness of this moment, your immune system can step out of the shadows and begin its most vital work. It is as if a quiet, internal cleaning crew has arrived, ready to polish and protect every corner of your being. Scientists have found that deep rest and relaxation directly influence the production and efficiency of specialized white blood cells known as T cells. You can think of these cells as the vigilant guardians of your internal world. While you rest, your body increases the circulation of these T cells, allowing them to move more freely through your bloodstream and lymphatic system. They are the quiet sentinels, scanning for anything that shouldn't be there, ensuring that your body remains a safe and healthy sanctuary. Along with these guardians, your body ramps up the production of cytokines, small, clever proteins that act as the primary messengers of the immune system. These cytokines are essential because they coordinate your body's response to any potential health challenges. They are the gentle whispers that tell your immune system where to focus its energy and how to respond to unwanted visitors. Some cytokines even help to promote sleep itself, creating a beautiful self-sustaining cycle where rest leads to better health, and better health leads to deeper rest. Together, T cells and cytokines form a sophisticated defense network, a microscopic team working tirelessly while you do nothing at all. This process is one of the most beautiful examples of how the mind and body are inextricably linked. By simply choosing to be still, by letting your breath slow and your thoughts soften, you are providing the perfect environment for your body to defend and heal itself. It is a profound realization that in this state of non-doing, you are actually facilitating something incredibly complex and important. You're allowing your biology to perform a silent, masterful symphony of protection. As this internal work continues, you might notice that the world outside your room feels further and further away. The worries of the day, the schedules, the deadlines, they all seem to lose their sharp edges and fade into the background. In this state of profound biological focus, your relationship with the world begins to shift in another subtle, fascinating way. As you drift further into this sanctuary of calm, you might find that your very sense of time is beginning to change, stretching and softening until the ticking of the clock no longer carries any weight. Have you ever noticed how, in moments of deep peace, the minutes seem to lose their shape? It is as if the rigid structure of the clock begins to soften, and time itself starts to stretch and expand like a slow outgoing tide. This shift in how we perceive the passing seconds is one of the most beautiful signs that your body and mind have truly entered a state of profound relaxation. During our active hours, our brains are often in a state of constant task switching. We move from one thought to another, one responsibility to the next. And with every shift in focus, our internal clock marks a new interval. This frequent checking and rechecking of our progress through the day creates a sense of time that is fragmented and often feels as though it is moving too quickly, slipping through our fingers before we can truly grasp it. But here, in this space of stillness, there is no next thing to prepare for. There are no tasks to switch between and no deadlines waiting at the edge of your thoughts. Because of this, your brain's internal pacemaker, the complex neural network that tracks the passage of time, begins to slow its rhythm. When we aren't task switching, the brain stops placing markers on the timeline of our experience. The seconds no longer feel like individual ticks of a clock. Instead, they blend into one another, creating a seamless, golden flow of existence. This phenomenon is what scientists sometimes call subjective time expansion. In the absence of stress and external demands, a single minute can feel like an eternity of peace, not because it is dragging, but because you are finally present enough to inhabit every heartbeat of it. This sense of timelessness is more than just a pleasant feeling. It is a hallmark of the deepest psychological calm. It indicates that the parts of your brain responsible for executive function, the planning, the worrying, the scheduling, have finally gone quiet. When you lose track of time, it is a signal that your nervous system feels completely safe. It has stopped scanning the horizon for what comes next and has instead settled fully into the now. In this state, the past and the future seem to dissolve, leaving only the gentle, rhythmic pulse of your own breathing. It is a rare and precious freedom to exist outside of the clock's reach, to simply be, without the pressure of the hours moving forward. As you linger in this timeless space, you might feel a sense of weightlessness, as if the heavy anchors of the day have finally been lifted. Your thoughts are no longer sharp or directed. They are like soft clouds drifting across a vast evening sky. This blurring of time is the final bridge before you leave the shores of wakefulness behind. You're moving away from the active rhythms of the day and toward a much deeper, much slower frequency. The gentle alpha and theta waves that have been carrying you are now beginning to give way to something even more profound. The long, slow, and powerful swells of the deepest ocean of the mind. You are standing at the threshold of the most restorative state a human being can experience, where the mind truly rests and the body begins its most sacred work of renewal. In this coming depth, the very concept of time will vanish completely, replaced by a stillness so total and so healing that it transcends the world of seconds and minutes entirely. As the clock fades and the world of minutes disappears, your brain begins to sink into its deepest, most profound state of being. We have traveled through the buzzing activity of the day and the quiet reflection of the evening, and now we arrive at the very floor of the mind's ocean. We call this the realm of delta waves. If the active thinking mind of the day is like the choppy, sunlit surface of the sea, then delta waves are the vast, silent currents moving slowly through the darkest depths of the ocean's floor. They're the slowest brainwaves we ever produce, long, rhythmic pulses that oscillate at a gentle frequency of just 0.5 to 4 cycles per second. At this speed, the electrical activity of your brain is no longer a conversation or a series of thoughts. It is a slow, steady hum, a foundational vibration that signals the body it is finally time to begin the work of total reconstruction. In this sanctuary of delta sleep, a remarkable biological event takes place. As your brain waves stretch out and slow down, your brain signals the pituitary gland to release a powerful surge of growth hormone into your bloodstream. While we often associate this hormone with the rapid growth of childhood, it remains one of the most vital chemicals in the adult body. It is the body's primary architect of repair, moving through your system to mend the microscopic wear and tear that occurs during your waking hours. This hormone facilitates the synthesis of proteins, helps to heal damaged tissues, and supports the regeneration of cells in your skin, muscles, and bones. It is a process of total physical renewal that can only happen when the mind has completely surrendered to this deep, slow rhythm. Because of this intensive internal work, delta sleep is recognized as the most physically restorative stage of the entire human experience. It is the period when your immune system recharges its batteries, producing the cells and proteins necessary to keep you healthy and resilient. During this time, your blood pressure drops even further, and your breathing becomes its most regular and rhythmic, allowing your heart to rest as much as possible. This is the stage of sleep that makes you feel truly refreshed and put back together when you wake up. It is the heavy, dreamless state where the body does not just rest, it heals from the deepest layers of your DNA to the very surface of your skin. As you linger on the edge of this deep ocean, you may feel the last threads of your conscious identity beginning to fray and soften. You are moving away from the person who has a name, a list of chores, and a history, and toward a simpler, more elemental version of yourself. In this space, the you that worries about the world begins to dissolve into a state of pure, quiet existence. There is no I in the deep delta state. There is only the breath, the heartbeat, and the slow, powerful waves of the mind. You are drifting steadily toward total unconsciousness, a place where the world cannot reach you, and where your only responsibility is to let the tide of sleep carry you into the dark, healing waters. You are sinking deeper now, letting the weight of your body pull you down into a stillness so complete that it feels like returning home to a place of perfect safety and silence. As you hover in this deep, quiet space near the edge of total surrender, you might occasionally notice a sudden, brief sensation, a tiny physical flicker in the darkness of your mind. It is one of the more curious phenomena of the human body, a small mystery that occurs in the twilight between being awake and being asleep. You might feel a sudden, involuntary twitch, a momentary jump in your leg, or a quick startle that feels like a soft spark of electricity passing through a muscle. Perhaps you have felt it tonight, or perhaps it is a familiar companion from many other nights spent drifting toward the stars. This sudden movement is known to science as a hypnic jerk, or more technically, a myoclonic jerk. While it can feel surprising or even a bit strange in the moment, it is actually a beautiful, measurable sign of your body's success in letting go of the day. These twitches are essentially brief, involuntary muscle contractions, similar to a hiccup, but involving the larger muscles of the body. Far from being a sign of stress or a disruption of your rest, they are a physical indicator that your nervous system is successfully shifting its gears into a state of profound relaxation. As you descend further into your rest, your muscles begin to lose their daytime tension entirely, entering a state of nearly total stillness. This is the body's way of ensuring you stay safe and comfortable while your mind begins its nightly wandering. However, during the transition into this stillness, there is a fascinating interplay between the brain and the body that can lead to these little unexpected jumps. There is a widely held scientific theory about why these jerks happen, rooted in the way our brains process the sensation of gravity. As your muscles go completely limp and your heart rate slows to its deepest resting pace, your brain, which remains partially alert in these transitional stages, can sometimes misinterpret this sudden lack of physical feedback. It senses the rapid relaxation of your limbs and the significant drop in muscle tone, and for a fleeting second, it mistakes this stillness for the sensation of falling through the air. In a reflex that is as old as the human species itself, your brain sends a quick, sharp electrical pulse to the muscles to catch at you, resulting in that sudden, harmless jump. Some evolutionary biologists believe this may be a vestige from a time when our distant ancestors slept in the safety of high branches, and a sudden catch reflex was a vital survival mechanism to prevent a fall during the night. Whether it is an ancient echo or simply a quirk of the complex wiring in our nervous systems, you can rest completely assured that these movements are a sign of deep and profound safety. They are a signal that your body is fully surrendering its weight to the bed beneath you, trusting the environment around you. It is as if your brain is performing one final gentle check of the perimeter, confirming that everything is secure before it finally turns out the lights of your conscious awareness. These myoclonic jerks are the body's way of saying, all clear. Once that final tiny spark of movement fades, your body settles into a much deeper, more stable, and more permanent stillness. The jerks of the transition are behind you now, and the physical world begins to recede even further into the background. You are now in a state of total physical quiet, a sanctuary of stillness that you have built for yourself breath by breath. Your limbs feel wonderfully heavy, as if the bed is rising up to meet you, and your breath is a slow, steady tide moving in and out without any effort at all. Your heart is beating with the calm, unwavering rhythm of a traveler who has finally reached a place of true rest. With the physical body now perfectly still and the curiosities of the transition settled, your mind begins to turn its attention inward, away from the external world and the mechanics of your muscles. It begins the quiet, essential work of the self, the integration of your day into the long-term story of your life. In this profound silence, you are safe, you are still, and you are ready for the deeper mental journey that follows this physical peace. As the physical world continues to dim and the weight of your body becomes a soft, forgotten anchor, your mind begins the quiet, essential work of the self. This is the moment where the internal landscape shifts from the active observation of the world to the gentle integration of your experiences. It is a process of weaving, taking the thousands of disparate threads from your day, the conversations, the sights, the small emotions, and the new things you learned, and carefully interlacing them into the permanent tapestry of your identity. This mental synthesis is one of the most beautiful and complex functions of human biology, and it can only reach its full potential when you are in this state of profound, unhurried calm. In the language of neuroscience, this vital process is known as memory consolidation. During the frantic pace of the day, your brain acts like a busy clerk, scribbling notes on temporary scraps of paper and piling them onto a desk. These are your short-term memories stored in a part of the brain called the hippocampus. But the hippocampus is a small space with limited capacity. It cannot hold on to everything forever. For a memory to become a part of who you are, to be stored for years or a lifetime, it must be moved to the long-term archives of the cerebral cortex. This transition doesn't happen while you are arguing, working, or even eating. It requires the specialized environment of deep relaxation and eventual sleep. Scientific studies have shown that the hippocampus and the cortex engage in a sophisticated two-way dialogue that is most effective when the body is perfectly still and the external senses are dampened. It is as if these two regions of the brain wait for the noise of the day to stop before they begin their most important conversation. While you lie here, breathing slowly and feeling the cool air against your skin, your brain is actually replaying the day's events at a highly accelerated speed. These ripples of neural activity serve to strengthen the connections between neurons, turning fleeting impressions into solid knowledge. It is a form of internal rehearsal, a quiet sharpening of the mind that happens without you having to lift a finger. This consolidation is the very foundation of learning and wisdom. When we allow ourselves the time to truly relax, we aren't just resting. We are providing our brains with the necessary sanctuary to build the architecture of our memories. Without this period of stillness, the things we experience would simply wash over us like water over stones, leaving no lasting mark. But in this state of calm, the brain can decide what is worth keeping, what can be discarded, and how the new information fits with what we already know. It is a process of becoming more fully ourselves, one gentle ripple of thought at a time. This suggests that rest is not merely a luxury or a pause in the action of life, but a critical evolutionary advantage. Throughout human history, those who could successfully transition into this state of deep, restorative quiet were the ones who could best process information, adapt to their environments, and learn from their mistakes. Our ancestors survived not just because they were fast or strong, but because they possessed a nervous system capable of this profound nightly reset. As you drift further into this peaceful space, you are participating in an ancient biological tradition. You are honoring a need that is shared by almost every living creature on Earth, a need for the stillness that allows life to continue, to grow, and to understand itself. You are drifting closer now to the very source of your resilience, where the mind and body prepare together for the mysteries of the coming quiet. If we look back through the long lens of time, we might wonder why evolution, a process so often defined by competition and survival, would preserve a state of such profound vulnerability. When we are still, when we are deep in the embrace of calm or sleep, we are at our most defenseless. Yet, this stillness has survived in the biological blueprint of almost every living thing on this planet. It is not an accident of nature, but a masterpiece of design. We often think of progress as movement, but in the history of life, progress is equally dependent on the ability to stop. Think for a moment of the smallest creatures that share our world. Even the humble fruit fly or the industrious honeybee experiences periods of what scientists call quiescence. This is a state of significantly reduced activity and lowered responsiveness to the environment. Even without the complex architecture of a human brain, these simple organisms require a rhythmic pause. It is as if the very fabric of life requires a moment to pull back, to stop the intake of energy and information, and to simply exist in a state of non-action. In the animal kingdom, this isn't a sign of weakness. It is the essential price of vitality. It is a universal law that every system, no matter how small, needs a period of maintenance. For us, this calmness is the silent foundation upon which every waking achievement is built. We often celebrate the moments of high performance, the quick thinking, the physical strength, the creative breakthroughs. But none of those things are truly possible without the deep well of rest we are tapping into right now. You can think of your nervous system like a bowstring. It cannot stay pulled taut forever, or it will eventually lose its snap and its integrity. It must be released. It must return to its natural, relaxed state to remain useful. In this way, your moments of stillness are just as productive as your moments of activity, though they feel much different. When you allow yourself to be truly still, you're engaging in the most fundamental act of self-preservation. You are clearing the slate, allowing the biological noise of the day to settle like silt at the bottom of a clear lake. This stillness is where your cells repair themselves, where your immune system gathers its strength, and where your mind finds its center. It is a quiet, internal restoration that happens every single night, regardless of whether we acknowledge it. As we move closer to the final moments of our journey tonight, let yourself feel the weight of this ancient necessity. You are part of a grand planetary rhythm, a pulse of activity followed by a pulse of deep restorative silence. Every breath you take in this relaxed state is a tribute to the wisdom of your body, a wisdom that has been refined over millions of years to ensure that you are not just surviving, but truly thriving. The world outside may continue its frantic pace, but here, in the sanctuary of your own space, you have returned to the baseline of your existence. You are honoring the stillness that makes everything else possible, preparing for the final transition into the most profound quiet of all. And so, we arrive at the end of our journey together tonight. The air around you feels still, and the weight of your body against the mattress is a gentle anchor, holding you in this moment of profound safety. We have traveled through the vast landscapes of your biology, from the wandering path of the vagus nerve to the rhythmic beating of a coherent heart. You have listened as the electrical storms of your daytime brain subsided into the long rolling waves of alpha, theta, and finally, the deep resonance of delta. You have felt the chemical shift as cortisol retreated and melatonin began its quiet, steady reign. As my voice begins to soften even further, I want to invite you to let the last of these facts and figures fade away. They have served their purpose as a bridge, carrying your mind away from the noise of the world and into this quiet harbor. You don't need to remember the specific frequencies of brain waves or the Latin names of nerves anymore. You don't need to track the lowering of your core temperature or the release of growth hormones. Instead, let all of that information dissolve into a soft, indistinct hum, a gentle background noise that signifies nothing more than your own well-being. The science of your calm is no longer something to study. It is something you are living right now in the slow, effortless rise and fall of your chest. You have spent this time learning about the complex and beautiful machinery of your own peace. It is a system that works tirelessly for you, even when you aren't paying attention. It is a masterpiece of evolution, a series of checks and balances designed to ensure you can recover, heal, and begin again. It knows exactly how to lower your heart rate, how to repair your cells, and how to wash away the mental clutter of the day. You can trust this process completely. You can lean into the natural intelligence of your body, knowing that it is designed to find its way back to balance every single night. The biological blueprint for rest is already written into your very DNA, and you have successfully followed it to this very threshold. Now, there is nothing left to do. There are no more thoughts to catch, no more lessons to absorb, and no more tasks to complete. The world outside is distant and dim, and your only responsibility is to surrender to the gentle gravity of sleep. Feel the muscles in your face soften one last time. Your jaw, your brow, the tiny muscles around your eyes. Let your shoulders sink an inch deeper into the bed. Imagine the quiet, dark space behind your eyes expanding, becoming a vast and peaceful ocean where you can simply drift without effort or direction. The silence is waiting for you now, a soft and welcoming embrace that will carry you through the hours of the night. As the narration fades into the stillness, let the quiet be your guide. Your mind is clear, your body is heavy, and your heart is steady. You have done the work of finding your center, and now you may simply be. You are safe. You are resting. You are whole. Sleep well. You are exactly where you need to be